Hey there, Silver Recaps here. Watch out. The story begins on a mysterious island where we see a girl injured and struggling. On the other hand, we are introduced to our main character, Madison, a social media star and blogger who frequently posts videos from new and exotic locations. At the request of her fans, Madison has traveled to Thailand. This trip was planned by none other than her boyfriend, John, as the two wanted to spend some quality time together. However, due to work commitments, John has been delayed, leaving Madison to explore on her own. Madison spends her time visiting various places, taking photos and creating content. She's staying at a hotel in Thailand. The next morning, as she tries to shoot a video for a product promotion, she struggles to focus. The loneliness begins to weigh on her, and she constantly messages John, urging him to arrive as soon as possible. John reassures her that he's trying his best to get there quickly. 2 days later, while Madison is at a bar, an old man approaches her, offering money to come with him. She feels deeply uncomfortable with his behavior and asks him to leave her alone, but the man persists. Just then, a local woman named CW steps in. CW, who is well versed in the ways of the area, humiliates the man and forces him to leave. Impressed by CW's bravery, Madison strikes up a conversation with her. The two begin to bond as CW warns Madison to stay cautious since there are many shady people around. Madison tells CW about John and how he canceled their plans at the last minute, leaving her to explore alone. She shares that people often think bloggers' lives are easy and glamorous, but only bloggers know how much hard work it takes. Madison also learns that CW works as a guide, showing visitors around different places. However, CW and Madison become friends. Instead of treating Madison like a customer, CW asks her as a friend if she would like to explore some unique places with her. Places where no one has gone before. Madison agrees, and they set off on CW's bike, traveling to many spots. Madison also records some great vlogs during their trip. Later, they go to a club and have dinner together. After spending the entire day traveling, Madison returns to her hotel, feeling tired but very happy. She is excited because her vlog is getting a lot of positive views. However, her happiness turns into despair when she enters her room and finds the door open. All her belongings, including her passport, have been stolen. She feels deeply upset and tells CW about it. CW helps her file a theft complaint with the police. The police give her a form to apply for a new passport, but the process will take 2 weeks. Madison cannot stay for 2 weeks because she has to create videos for some brands in the US, but unfortunately she has no other choice. That night, Madison talks to John about the situation, but instead of showing concern for her, he is more worried about the money. This makes Madison emotional, and she starts crying. John doesn't ask about her well-being even once and keeps bringing up financial concerns. Frustrated and hurt, Madison gets angry and decides to end their relationship, hanging up the call. Now, she has no choice but to stay there for a few days until her passport is ready. During this time, she begins exploring with CW. Madison captures many photos and videos, uploading them online, and they receive a great response with plenty of views. She also asks CW to take some photos with her, but CW declines every time. Madison finds it odd and wonders if CW avoids photos because of the scars on her face. She brushes off the thought, deciding not to press the issue further. One day, CW takes Madison to her house by the seaside, a stunningly beautiful place. There, CW tells her about a small island they can visit the next day. It's a short distance away, incredibly picturesque, and very few people have ever been there. Madison gets excited, thinking this could be a great opportunity for unique content that might attract more views on her vlog. Without hesitation, she agrees. Before sunrise the next morning, CW prepares her boat for the trip. Both Madison and CW set out toward the island. Along the way, Madison continues vlogging, unaware that this decision would soon become one of the worst of her life. So far, everything seemed fine, but a major twist was just around the corner. After hours of traveling, they finally reach the island. While exploring, Madison notices a wooden plank with 7 lines scratched into it. Such markings are usually made by someone counting days. This raises the question, is someone living here, or was someone stranded here? However, the island is incredibly beautiful, and Madison is convinced no one has been here before. As night falls, the two of them light a fire and sit by it, talking about their lives. Everything seems normal, but the next morning, CW shows her true colors. Before Madison wakes up, CW disappears, leaving her behind on the island. But Madison's ordeal doesn't end there. CW returns to Madison's hotel, takes over her identity, and hacks into all her accounts. She replaces Madison's photos with her own and starts wearing Madison's clothes. CW begins living Madison's life completely, shooting vlogs, posting on social media, and taking photos with fans. Now, CW is fully living as Madison, maintaining her online presence and posting daily on her accounts. Strangely, no one notices the change. John becomes increasingly worried as days pass without hearing from Madison after their argument. This had never happened before, and he has no idea that CW now has Madison's phone and is ignoring all his messages. By this time, Madison might already be dead, and CW has moved on to searching for her next victim. She had done this to 4 girls before, and is now determined to find someone new. It doesn't take long before she identifies her next target. The new victim is a lawyer named Jessica who had come to Thailand alone. CW learns about her story, including which hotel she is staying at. CW books a room in the same hotel and begins monitoring Jessica closely. Gradually, she infiltrates Jessica's life, stealing the keys from her bag and setting her plan in motion. Just like with Madison, CW manipulates Jessica and takes over her identity. She even convinces Jessica to spend time with her, eventually taking her to a large house, actually Madison's, but CW lies, claiming it belongs to her. While at the house, CW unexpectedly encounters John, who also has a set of keys. John had come to surprise Madison. CW tells him that Madison had informed her about breaking up with him. John, however, insists that Madison was just angry and couldn't have meant it. The next day, John tries calling Madison's phone. CW answers using Madison's voice, something she manipulated with AI to perfectly mimic Madison. The fake message tells John that their relationship is truly over and that she has left the house. Despite this, John stays, convinced that Madison will return eventually. When John shares his concerns about Madison with Jessica, she starts to realize that something similar happened to her. Suspicious of CW, Jessica discusses her doubts with John and decides to investigate further. Being a lawyer, she has handled many cases like this and is skilled at uncovering hidden truths. She begins keeping a close watch on CW. One day, Jessica sends a message to Madison's ID, and the notification appears on CW's phone. This confirms her suspicion that CW is involved in something sinister. Deciding to act, she quickly packs her belongings and prepares to leave the house. Just as she's about to leave, CW arrives. Caught off guard, Jessica pretends that everything is normal. She confronts CW, saying, "John told me everything. What you've done to Madison, you tried to do to me too. But I'm not just another girl. You should think twice before messing with me. My father has connections and he'll hunt you down if anything happens to me." However, CW isn't one to let her go so easily. Refusing to back down, CW attacks the lawyer and kills her, ensuring no loose ends remain in her web of lies and deception. Hearing a noise, John arrives at the scene, but before he can notice anything, CW quickly erases all evidence of her crimes. John finds nothing suspicious and leaves the room. However, as soon as he departs, CW heads toward his room to deal with him as well. Just then, her phone buzzes with a notification. John has just posted a picture of himself with Jessica, tagging Madison, which poses a major threat to CW's carefully crafted facade. CW is determined to ensure that no one discovers her true identity or sees her face. She decides to delete the photo from John's account. The next morning, CW tells John that Jessica has returned home, trying to distract him. Meanwhile, Madison's account posts a new photo showing her with a man. In reality, CW had uploaded this picture herself to further confuse John. Unaware of the manipulation, John becomes upset, believing Madison has moved on and no longer wants to be with him. CW notices John's distress and uses the opportunity to manipulate him further, giving him false reassurance. Later, John stumbles across some of Madison's photos and notices their poor quality. He also realizes that her follower count is dropping, which makes him suspicious. That night, CW takes John to a club, where she secretly spikes his drink. Once John loses consciousness, CW takes him back to the house. She uses this opportunity to access his phone and deletes all the photos that could expose her, erasing every trace of her deception. The next day, when John wakes up, he decides there's no reason for him to stay any longer. He prepares to leave, which clears CW's path entirely. That same day, CW burns all of Madison's belongings, including her passport, erasing every trace of her existence. Meanwhile, John becomes emotional, reflecting on his relationship with Madison. When they first met, she was just an ordinary girl, and together, they worked hard to build her career and achieve success. Lost in these thoughts, John suddenly remembers the photo he saw earlier, the one of Madison with a man, taken in front of a hotel. He suspects Madison might be staying there, so he decides to check it out. John goes to the hotel, but he learns that Madison has never checked in there. At this point, we see the old man who had previously harassed Madison. He recognizes Madison's photo as John's phone wallpaper and recalls seeing her with CW. This leads to a conversation between John and the old man. The old man shares details of the day he saw Madison, explaining that she left with CW. Hearing this, John becomes suspicious and starts digging for more clues. He examines one of Madison's recently posted videos and removes a filter from her face using software. To his shock, he discovers that the person posing as Madison in the video is actually CW. John heads straight to CW's house and waits for her to return. As soon as she arrives, John attacks her from behind, knocking her unconscious. He ties her to a chair, and when she regains consciousness, the first thing he demands is to know where Madison is. CW refuses to say anything. John threatens to call the police, but CW flips the situation, claiming that the police will suspect him since the last message Madison sent was to him. Despite her threats, John forces her to the boat and demands she take him to Madison. CW agrees, but it's all part of her plan. Once they are in the middle of the water, CW pushes John into the water and ruthlessly drowns him, killing him without mercy. It's revealed that CW is a serial killer. She returns home and posts from Madison's account, claiming, "My friend John tried to kill me and ran away with all my money," creating the illusion that John has disappeared. She even wears the ring John had brought for Madison. The next day, CW notices that Madison's followers are supporting her, believing her fabricated story. But the story isn't over yet. CW has one last task to complete. A few days later, CW goes to the island to erase any evidence left behind. While there, she sees a fire burning with a fish roasting over it and a nearby tent. This suggests Madison might still be alive. CW is shocked and immediately heads into the jungle to find her. Suddenly, Madison appears from behind and strikes CW on the head with a heavy object. Without wasting any time, Madison runs to the boat, where she discovers John's lifeless body. She feels deep sorrow but knows she must escape to save herself. She boards the boat and leaves. A few minutes later, CW regains consciousness and sees Madison leaving on the boat. Despite her injuries, a smile remains on her face. The film ends here, leaving us with the unsettling realization that CW is a cunning and relentless serial killer who won't give up so easily. And with this lingering question, the story ends.